settle with your eyes gently closed. And as you start to connect with the sounds around you, begin to draw your awareness inward and to your breath. Let's start with 2 cleansing breaths together. Exhale out all of your air. Empty your lungs, drawing your belly button towards your spine. And as you inhale, let your belly relax and rise. Feel your chest expand. Hold your breath at the top. And then open your mouth, exhale. Good, one more time like that. Inhale as slowly as you can, filling up through your inner body, drawing a little bit more air at the top, and hold. And whenever you're ready, open mouth, exhale. Keep your mouth closed and start to take a few deeper breaths in and out through your nose. So as you lay here connecting with your breath, visualize the alignment of your body. So feel your hips on the earth, your shoulder blades against the mat. Just that subtle curve in your lower back. And then wherever you're at, bend your knees, draw your knees into your chest, and give yourselves a little squeeze. Maybe rock from side to side, massaging out your back body. Notice the rounding of your lower back here. Maybe draw circles with your knees in one direction, massaging your sacrum and your hips, your lower back. And then go in the opposite direction with your circles. Come back to center. Again, make sure your shoulder blades are flush against the mat. Bring your knees above your hips legs into a tabletop position. You can modify by keeping your legs in tabletop the entire time. You can modify by placing your feet on the floor if you have sensitivity in your lower back, or even just keeping toes on the floor to maintain that contact. Otherwise, you're going to follow my cue, bringing legs into 90 degrees. Take an inhale here. Walk your shoulder blades down the back. Pull your belly button towards the spine. Push your hands into your thighs into your hands. And then stretch your left leg straight as you exhale. So take it at about a 45-degree angle, maybe higher, maybe a little bit lower. But you want to keep your lower belly pulling in. Push that hand into the thigh into hand. Inhale, come back to center. Both hands on thighs here, pushing into thighs. Stretch your right leg straight, maybe about a 45-degree angle. Modify as you need, making sure that your lower back is not arching too much and it's not rounding too much. Inhale, come back to center. Let your shoulders relax here. Let your neck be soft. Push your hands into your thighs. Keep that right hand as it is. Exhale, left leg reaches out. Spread your toes and really reach through the ball of your left foot. Inhale, come back to center. Knees above your hips. Push hands into thighs. Keep that left hand as it is. Stretch your right leg straight as you exhale. Spread your toes. Push that left hand a little firmer into the thigh into hand. Inhale, come back to center, and just stay here for the exhale. So you can continue what you are doing if that is working for you. Otherwise, interlace your fingers behind your head. Point your elbows up towards the ceiling. And then inhale, lift your head and shoulder blades off of the mat. Imagine you're squeezing a block in between your thighs. So feel that activity in your lower belly. Stretch your left leg straight out, maybe 45-degree angle, maybe less. Bring your elbows towards your right knee, but keep that knee above the hip, so don't draw it towards you. Inhale, come back to center. Lift your tailbone up. Keep your head relaxed in your hands. Stretch your right leg straight out, elbows towards your left knee. Push the head back into the hands. Reach your elbows towards that knee. Inhale, come back to center. Lift your tailbone up, spread your toes. Stretch your left leg straight, elbows towards your right knee. So again, keeping that knee over the hip. Inhale, come back to center. Lift your tailbone up, spread your toes, stretch your right leg straight, elbows towards your left knee. Make sure your lower back is spread across the mat. Inhale, center. We'll do one more round. Full breath into upper chest, upper back. Lift your tailbone up. Exhale, left leg straight, elbows towards your right knee. Take that left arm outside of that right thigh. Push the arm against the thigh and draw your left shoulder blade down your back. Spread your toes. Reach that right elbow a little closer towards that right knee. Inhale, come back to center. Full breath in, head rests in the hands. Lift your tailbone up. Exhale, right leg straight, elbows towards your left knee. So really try to lift the bottom tip of your left shoulder blade off of the mat. Take that right arm outside of your left thigh. Push the arm against the thigh. Thigh against the arm. Draw your right shoulder blade down the back and see if you can reach your left elbow closer towards that knee. Inhale, come back to center. And exhale, release. Stretch your legs straight out. Reach your arms over your head. Take a deep breath in. Full body stretch. Stretch into your belly. Open mouth, exhale. Good, take another stretch out, full body stretch. Hug your knees into your chest with your exhale. Start to rock forward and backward along your spine a few times. And as you feel ready, come up and forward onto hands and knees. So go ahead and set up into a tabletop. Your shoulders are above your wrists. Hips above your knees, and start to move your spine. So it can be a traditional cat-cow, arching and rounding your spine with your breath. It could be more circular motions with your hips, your shoulders, maybe rolling out your head. You can also add some wrist opening, maybe turning your fingers out to the sides, or maybe fingers more towards your knees, so pointing behind you. Micro bend into your elbows, press into your finger pads, and maybe start to lean back. Again, you can shift your hips from side to side. Just finding any movement that helps you connect with those in a stickier, tight spots. Take about 3 more breaths here. As you finish, come back to a neutral spine, flip your hands back around, fingers point forward. If they weren't, you can shake out your hands if you need to release out the wrists. So we're gonna set up for thread the needle. Walk your right hand forward about 1 inch from the shoulder, and then you can separate your knees a little further apart if it feels more steady for you. Take your left hand to the back of your head. So make sure that your collarbones are broad. You wanna push that head into your hand. Inhale, open up your left elbow, so twisting over to your left. Exhale, dive through, reaching that left elbow down and under through the right. Inhale, come back to center and start to twist to the right again. Push your head into your hands. Keep your hips stable, so don't let them twist with you. And then exhale again, dive through, reaching out through that left elbow. One more time, inhale, open and twist to your left, drawing belly button towards your spine. Exhale, dive through. Now taking that shoulder behind your right wrist. Using a blanket if you need to prop up your head. Rest your head down if that's accessible. And bring your hips back to center. Turn your left palm up towards the ceiling. Draw that shoulder down away from your ear and adjust your chin away from your chest. Come up onto your right fingertips and start to roll your right shoulder back and down. You're leaning back onto the shoulder blades. So if you'd like, you can play with different variations, maybe taking that right leg out to the right, coming up onto the toes. Maybe taking that right arm over your head, so at 12 o'clock to get more side body opening, or even taking that arm up or behind your back. You can grab your inner left thigh for a half bind. Take about 2 to 3 more breaths here. Release that right arm, right hand to the earth if it's not. Inhale and release and unwind your twist. Bring your hands and knees back to the earth with your exhale. Take a breath. You can wiggle it out or you can do a cat-cow. Bringing your spine back to neutral. And then come back to center, setting up for the second side. So walk your left hand forward an inch or so from the shoulder. Take your right hand to the back of your head. Draw your shoulders away from your ears. As you inhale, twist and open to your right. And as you exhale, start to dive through so that elbow is drawing down, in, and through to your left. Inhale, open up to your right. So feeling that opening through the rib cage. Exhale, coming down, under, and through. Really point through that right elbow. One more time, inhale, open. Push your head against your hand. Feel your collarbones broad. Hold your middle. And then exhale, dive through. Now take that right arm through. Set your shoulder behind your left wrist. Prop your head up if you need. Come up onto your left fingertips. Draw your right shoulder down away from your ear and adjust your chin slightly away from your chest. Come up onto your left fingertips and roll your left shoulder back and down. And again, coming into whatever variation you did on the first side. That left arm can come to 12 o'clock. Or behind your back, coming into a half bind. Start to lean back onto your shoulder blades. And take about 2 more breaths here. Place your left hand in front of you if it's not. Inhale, release and unwind. And then bring your hands and knees to the floor. Take a round of cat-cow or wiggle it out. And then coming back to center, set up for downward facing dog. Walk your knees back a couple of inches behind your hips or walk your hands a palm length forward. Tuck your toes under, lift your knees and hips, press back into downward facing dog. So take a few breaths here and start to move around. Pedaling out your feet. Get into your calves, the backs of your knees, into your hamstrings. Move your shoulder blades around on your back. Shake out your head. Notice if you feel a little bit more open through your upper body, through your neck. And then start to find stillness in your pose. Lift and spread the toes, engage your thighs so the kneecaps are lifted. If you're quite tight in the backs of your legs, go ahead and bend your knees, even lift up your heels. So you want that spine at a neutral spine, so low back is not rounding. Push down through the palms, bring your thighs back, your hips back. And then separate your feet wider than the mat. Walk your hands back, one palm length. Look over at your left foot. Reach your right hand and grab that outer left ankle or shin or knee. Let your head just dangle. Push through your left inner palm. And then pull with your right hand, start to twist open to your left. Release that right hand down. Look over at your right foot, right ankle. Pick up your left hand and reach for that outer ankle, that outer shin, that outer knee. Lift the inner arches of your feet. Push down through your inner right palm and let your head and neck just go. Start to pull with your left hand and twist open to your right. 2 more breaths here. Release your left hand down. Walk your hands forward again and take your feet hip width apart, downward facing dog. Bring your feet a little closer together. Float your right leg up to the sky with an inhale. And as you exhale, step that right foot forward. Bring your back knee down and bring your hands onto your front thigh. Now let's sit the hips back far enough so your hips are more above that back knee instead of sinking down low. Drive your right heel down into the mat. The back foot toes can be pointed or tucked under, whichever is your preference. And you really want to drive that right sit bone under. So you start to feel the lift of your hips. Try not to let that right hip lift up. Keep driving it down so the hips are level. Now as you do that, we're going to start to feel that stretch opening through the front of your left leg, maybe into that hip flexor. Keep that lift in the hips and start to sink a little bit deeper. So find the depth that works for you where you're not collapsing in your lower back. So I find this pose incredibly hard because that back knee is on the earth, so you have a little less room to work with. So try not to sink too deep into it. Work and try to find your edge. And as you're ready, inhale, reach your arms forward and up. Soften your inner shoulders, but start to telescope your ribs up away from your pelvis. Maybe lift your gaze. Maybe start to look up. Take about 3 breaths here. Then look forward with your inhale. Bring your fingers to the floor with an exhale. Tuck your back toes under and lift your back knee up. Tiptoe that left foot an inch or 2 to your left and swing your back heel down for warrior 1. If you have sensitivity in your low back or sacrum, feel free to modify by lifting that back heel up. If the heel is down, make sure the inner arch of your left foot is lifted, the inner shin, inner knee, inner thigh. Now keep pushing through that outer left foot, outer heel, and then start to drive that right heel down again, just like that low lunge. Squeeze your right hip back, and then reach your chest forward. This time, interlace your fingers behind your back. Squeeze your shoulder blades closer together. And as you inhale, reach your chest forward. So those left ribs are gonna come forward more. Right hip squeezes back. And as you exhale, fold about halfway forward, so not very far. Keep your feet active. Inhale, halfway lift. Squeeze your shoulder blades down your back. Hug that right hip in. And then fold a little bit deeper. Good, one more time. Inhale, reach your chest forward. Squeeze your right hip back, stamp into your back heel, and as you exhale, come into humble warrior. So let your spine release down, maybe right side body inside that right leg. Head hanging down, neck is relaxed. Maybe start to work your arms lifting up. Draw your shoulders away from your ears. Just take 2 more breaths here. Move your jaw from side to side. And release your fingers to the floor. Pause here for a moment. Bring that right arm inside of the knee. Catch hold of your calf or your ankle. And just weave that shoulder under your thigh. 3 more breaths here. Let your head go. Squeeze your right hip back. Push into your back heel. Good. Release. Frame your foot with your hands. Lift your back heel and step your right foot back to plank. So hold it here. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Lift your belly button. Slow your breath down. Little micro bend to your elbows. Take about 5 more breaths here. You can play around with maybe lifting that left foot an inch off the floor. And then bringing it back down. Make sure the shoulder blades are hugging the rib cage and not winging off. Maybe lift the right toes an inch or 2 off the floor. Bring the right toes down, deep breath in. Slowly lower all the way down onto your belly. Take a rest here, so turn your head to one side. You can release your arms by your sides. Bring your chin back to center, and we're gonna set up for chest expansion. Reach your right arm out to the right, so as if I were laying down, I would look like this or have that right elbow bent into cactus arm. The most important thing here is that that shoulder is not up by your ear. So if you need to take the hand up a little bit higher or the cactus arm up a little bit higher to draw the shoulder down away from your ear. So that seesaw principle, that elbow comes a little bit higher, that shoulder can drop down. And then push down into your left hand. Roll onto the right side of your body. So again, here you can place a blanket under your head if you need a little bit more cushion and height. Otherwise, just let your head hang down. Spread the fingers of your right hand and gently push down through the finger pads. We want to get an opening in our right pec, so the chest muscle. If you're feeling it more in the top of the shoulder, check your alignment again and see if you can get a little more external rotation in that right shoulder. Lean back onto the shoulder blades. Again, come up onto the left fingertips. Roll your left shoulder back and down. Lift your chin slightly away from your chest. Notice if your lower ribs are poking out. So just soften them in and down towards your navel. Take 3 more breaths into that right chest. Right armpit. Place your left hand in front of you if it's not. Roll onto your belly with an exhale. Extend your left arm out to the left. So again, arm can be straight or in cactus. Check the alignment of your left shoulder. Roll it back and down. Push into your right hand. And come onto the left side of your body. So your top leg can be straight. You can place it behind you like a kickstand. So anywhere that feels comfortable, kind of giving you a little bit of leverage to lean back more. But again, make sure the lower ribs are not poking out. You're drawing them down and in. Lift your chin slightly away from your chest. Come up onto those right fingertips and roll your right shoulder back and down. You can take that right arm anywhere you'd like. About 3 more breaths here. Place your right hand in front of you. Roll onto your belly with an exhale. Slide your hands in, make a pillow with your hands, and rest your head in your hands. One breath here. Now walk your hands out wider than the mat. Come up onto your finger pads. If this is a lot of work for you, you can work on coming up onto the ridge tops of your hands. So instead of keeping the palms flat, you can do that as well. But this is good exercise for the wrists, especially if you have carpal tunnel or any issues with the nerves in the wrists. Roll your shoulders back and down, press the tops of your feet down, engage your legs, inhale, curl up into a cobra. You're gonna twist your upper body to your right, looking over your right shoulder. So the tendency is for that left shoulder to come forward, which is fine, but let's start to draw that shoulder back more. Drop your chin towards your right armpit, feel a little stretch in your neck. Now reach longer through those right toes. Inhale, come back to center. Twist to your left with your exhale. So look over your left shoulder. Draw your right shoulder back in space. Drop your chin more towards your chest and feel that stretch in your neck. Now reach longer through your left toes. Inhale, come back to center. Lift your heart up and lower all the way down. Turn your head to one side. So if you remember which side you turn your head the first time, switch and go to the opposite direction. Bring your chin back to center. Place your hands next to your lower ribs. Make your way to downward facing dog any way you'd like to get there. From downward facing dog, float your left leg up to the sky with an inhale. Lightly step forward, exhale. So left foot towards left thumb. Bring your back knee down. Bring your hands up onto your front thigh. Setting up for that low lunge again. Back foot pointed or tucked under, whichever you did on the first side. Sit your hips back now. Bring the hips above the back knee and start to lift the fronts of your hips. So that tendency is for that left hip to lift up. So really drive it down. Even bring your hands to your hips and feel that they are level. Keep that and then start to sink a little bit deeper. So again, finding that edge where you're not collapsed in the lower back and your hips are level, sinking down as deep as you can go or as feels right. Add your arms when you're ready. Inhale, reach your arms forward and up. Imagine you've got like a beach ball in your hands and you're just gently holding and putting a little bit of pressure into that beach ball. Feel the tone in your arms and the shoulder blades start to wrap onto the rib cage and slightly move forward. Lift your chest, maybe lift your gaze. Maybe start to lean towards your back leg. Take 3 breaths here. Look forward with your inhale. Bring your fingertips to the floor with an exhale. Tuck your back toes under, lift your back knee, and tiptoe that right foot an inch or 2 to your right. Swing your back heel down, or again, modify with the back heel lifted. So we're setting up for warrior 1 legs. A lot of times you're going to hear that front foot heel should be lined up with the back foot heel, but I prefer it to be a little bit wider, just so that your sacrum, your lower back, has a little bit more space to move. Squeeze your left hip in and really push into your back foot. But instead of collapsing into the inner arch, lift the inner arch, but keep the ball of your right foot down. Lift the inner ankle, inner shin, inner knee, inner thigh. So the whole inner line of your leg is active. Squeeze your left hip back and in. Shoot your chest forward. Interlace fingers behind your back. Bring your opposite thumb on top this time. And as you inhale, squeeze your shoulder blades together. As you exhale, bow about halfway down. Try not to collapse into that right hip, so keep that right hip lifted. Left hip squeezes back. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Really reach out through the crown of your head. Exhale, maybe fold a little bit deeper. One more time. Inhale, lengthen your spine forward. Soften those right ribs forward. Draw the left ribs back. Exhale, humble warrior. So as you let your head go, maybe start to work lifting the arms up. Draw the shoulders out of your ears and just shake out your head. Let your neck release. Maybe move your jaw from side to side. And release your arms down. Bring your left hand inside of your left foot. Keep the legs and feet active. See if you can bring that left shoulder inside of the left knee or maybe even underneath. Just a couple of breaths here. Inhale, lift your chest, frame your left foot with your hands and lift your back heel. Step back to plank. Let's come down onto our forearms into a forearm plank. So elbows below your shoulders. Clasp your hands together and push the floor away from you. And really visualize your shoulder blades. Notice if the shoulder blades are winging up off of the back. Push down and work these muscles around your lower ribs. Lift your thighs up, lengthen your tailbone towards your heels, and if you're up for it, you can kind of sway back onto your heels, kind of dorsiflexing the feet. Push down through the forearms, and again, wrap your shoulder blades onto the rib cage. Maybe wiggle your toes back another inch. Come back to center, inhale, shoulders over elbows. Hips to the floor. Sphinx pose. Release your hands. Lower all the way down. Arms by your sides. Turn your head to one side. Bring your head back to center. Arms stay by your sides. So we're going to work the I's, T's, and Y's. So if you've ever done physical therapy, there's some work for your shoulders and shoulder stabilizers. Spread your toes, press your feet down, your kneecaps, lift off the mat, lengthen your tailbone towards your heels. Draw your chin towards your chest and just lift your head and upper chest off of the mat. Make sure you're not extending your neck too much to look forward. Drop that chin slightly towards your chest so your neck is neutral. Take an inhale here, pull your belly button towards the spine, and then lift your arms straight back with the exhale. Your palms can either face towards the ceiling or palms face in towards your thighs. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. To modify, you can just rest your head down. You can bring a blanket under your forehead. Now, as you inhale, take your arms out into a T shape. Your palms will face down or thumbs point up. As you exhale, squeeze your shoulder blades together. Maybe lift your chest a little bit higher. With your next inhale, reach your arms out into a Y shape. Your palms will face towards each other, or turning the palms slightly upward like you've got that big beach ball in your hands. And start to squeeze that invisible beach ball. Lift your biceps a little bit higher. Good, exhale, take your arms down by your sides and release everything down. Turn your head to the second side. So this exercise, please modify as you need to. Like I said, you can bring a blanket under your forehead and keep the head down the whole time, working your shoulders. You want to make sure that you're not lifting the shoulders up at your ears. So if you're doing that, just keep the hands on the floor. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. So there's always a way to modify to promote better alignment. Bring your chin, head back to center. This time we're going to move with the arms. Press down through your feet. Tailbone reaches towards your heels. Inhale, lift your chest. Lift your arms up. So again, palms facing the sky or towards your thighs. As you inhale, slowly take your arms out into a T and then up over your head into a Y. Stay for the exhale. Hug that invisible beach ball and lift up. Inhale, take your arms out into a T and then back into your I. Lift your chest up. Let's do one more round. Maybe add your legs, lifting your legs up off the floor. Lift your inner thighs. Lift your chest. So working that posterior chain and working those shoulder stabilizers. Inhale, take your arms out into a T. And then exhale, take your arms up into a Y. Hug that invisible beach ball. Lift your chest. Drop your chin slightly towards your chest. Inhale, arms into T. Back into your I. Lift your chest, your inner thighs, and release. Turn your head to the first side. So just making sure that if something feels really impossible, or if you feel that your body's not really doing what you're trying to tell it to do, always modify. There is something that you can do to promote the strengthening, promote that brain to muscle connection without doing everything that I'm asking. So again, you have to be aware of what your body is working with, what's accessible, and work with that as we start to build strength. So let's place hands next to your ribs. Come up and let's come into a child's pose. Open your knees wide, sit back onto your heels, and rest your forehead on the mat or on a blanket or on a block. Slide your hands under your shoulders and slowly inhale, roll up. So props, if you have blocks or something that you can use to place your hands on for some height, bring them to the front of your mat and then come into downward facing dog. So we'll do one more standing pose. Inhale, float your right leg up to the sky. Look forward, lightly step forward. Coming into a high lunge, grab those blocks for your hands. Shoot your chest forward. Walk your hands forward about a foot, maybe a little bit more. And float into a modified warrior 3. So take the time to roll your left outer hip down, but not let it collapse down. So that right outer hip, you want to hug it in. So working that glute med. Lift your inner left thigh higher. Find a little cobra action in your chest. Slide your shoulder blades down your back. Bring that left hand right below your shoulder. Stay here or swing that right arm by your ear. Lift your bicep a little higher than your ear. So again, if you're looking forward, send your gaze towards the top of your mat. Bring your chin more towards your chest. Squeeze your right hip in a little bit more. Reach through the back leg. Reach your chest forward. Take an inhale. Take your right arm out to a T with your exhale, so out to the right. Inhale, lift your belly off of that right thigh. Maybe a little micro bend in your right leg, in your right knee. And as you exhale, start to twist open to your right. Revolved half moon. So imagine your back foot is against a wall and you want to push against that wall. Notice if your right hip is swaying out to the right, hug it in. Lift belly off of your thigh and find that thread the needle for your upper body. Tilt your ears back. Take 2 more breaths here. Good, inhale, look down, bring your right hand down. Uttanasana, exhale. Wiggle out your legs. Let your spine release down. Maybe grab opposite elbows and shake out your head. Release your fingers to the floor with an inhale, halfway lift. Step your right foot back into your lunge. So we'll set up for the second side. Grab those blocks for your hands. And before we take off, feel your left foot grounded, left hip squeezing in. See if you can open up the chest a little bit more, broaden through your collarbones. Feel your neck long. So this is really good postural work. Walk your hands forward. Float into your modified warrior 3. So there's lots of fancy things we can do, but I always enjoy just sticking with the basics and working that really, really well. So if you can take a look at that right hip, dial it down enough without collapsing it down. That left outer hip hugging in. Feel that glute med working. And lift your inner right thigh higher. Now, the belly, lift it off of your left thigh. So kind of hollow out the belly like we're doing that core work. And then reach your chest forward. Slide your shoulders away from your ears. So again, feel that posterior chain working. That right arm, right hand underneath the right shoulder. Swing your left arm up by your ear. So lift your bicep a little higher than your ear, but hollow out your lower belly. Reach out through your back foot. Take an inhale here. Bring your left arm out into a T with your exhale. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Take an inhale here. Back leg super active. Start to twist to your left as you exhale. So you're going to feel the twist from your lower ribs. So that part we worked in thread the needle. The left arm only reaches as far out as your chest, so you're not taking it behind you. Activate your back leg. Imagine you're pushing your foot into a wall. Lift your belly off your thigh. 2 more breaths. Lean back onto your shoulder blades. Inhale, look down, left hand down. Uttanasana, exhale. Wiggle out your legs. Deep breath in through your nose. Open mouth, exhale. Let's do a little traction for your neck. Interlace your fingers at the base of your skull. Wrap your forearms around towards your jaw and let the forearms just squeeze the jaw, the arms heavy. From your sit bones, root down through your heels and your inner feet, but let your spine and neck release. Release your arms. Halfway lift, inhale. Step your left foot back. Bring your back knee to the earth, exhale. So setting up for a twisted quad stretch. If you need a little height, use something for your left hand. Cushion your back knee. You can place a blanket or fold the mat in half, and then heel toe that right foot out to the right. Kick your heel, left heel towards your bum. Reach back with your right hand. Catch hold of the foot. There it is. Now as you draw your heel closer to the hip, we have a tendency to just kind of let our hips kind of splay out. So I want you to bring the root of your left thigh back, bring that left heel closer to the outer hip, then start to sink a little bit deeper. We're gonna get a lot more opening through that quad and hip flexor. And then if it allows, you can take your left hand down, maybe left forearm down. Let your left ear drop towards your left shoulder. And you can nod yes and no. Letting your neck release. Broaden your collarbones. And take about 5 breaths here. Release your back foot. Bring your hands to the floor, arms straight, and work your way into Pigeon Pose. You're gonna wiggle that right foot over to your left and drop your knee over to the right. If you have knee issues, anything going on there, you can lay on your back and come into figure 4, crossing your right ankle over your right knee, grabbing the back of your thigh, or the front of your left shin. So wherever you're at, work into your hip opener. Draw your right hip under. Keep your back leg active and let your shoulders soften. Two more breaths. Release out of your pose. So if you're in figure 4, you're going to release your feet to the earth. If you're in pigeon, you're going to walk your hands in. We'll all meet in downward facing dog, so however you'd like to get there. And then from downward facing dog, look forward. Step your left foot outside of your left hand. Bring your back knee to the floor. Use a little bit of height for that right hand if you need, and cushion for your right knee. Twisted quad stretch. Bend your right knee, catch your foot with your hand, and draw your heel towards your outer hip. So try to notice, if you've done this pose a lot, just what's going on with your hips. Is that left hip swaying to the left? Are your hips kind of collapsing down? Really draw the root of your right thigh back, pull your belly in, and then start to lower down. So we want to maintain that support of our lumbar spine, connecting to our deeper core muscles. And then allowing that release. Breathe into the sensation. So maybe you'll feel it more in your thigh, maybe you'll feel it more in your hip flexor, maybe more in the inner leg or outer leg. Let that right ear drop towards your right shoulder. Maybe nod yes or no. Keep your left foot active. Spread your toes. Broaden through your collarbones. Slow down your breath. Two more breaths here. Gently release your foot, walk your hands in. Come into Pigeon Pose or Figure 4 on your back. So Pigeon Pose, wiggle your left foot over to the right, drop your knee over to the left. Maybe tuck your back toes and slide that knee back a little bit more. Lift the fronts of your hip. So again, not collapsing into your lower back. And then set up for your sleeping pigeon, or maybe you're taking a variation. Maybe you're in Figure 4. So wherever you're at, let your shoulders slide down. Feel the tip of your tongue resting against your upper palate. And allow the sides of your jaw to release. About 2 more breaths here. Release out of your pose wherever you're at. We will meet in downward facing dog just for a moment. And then come down onto your knees. Have a seat. Lay down onto your back. Squeeze your knees into your chest. Come into a happy baby. Take a few moments. Maybe come into a twist. Closing your practice with any final shapes or movements. And as you feel ready, release into your final resting pose. So maybe you're near a wall and you can bring your mat up against the wall, set your legs up against the wall, maybe using a bolster or pillow or blanket under your hips. Maybe coming into a Shavasana. If you've got blocks, you can place them under your knees if that feels comfortable. Walk your shoulders down away from your ears. So really take a moment to settle in to your final resting pose, even if it's just a few seconds or if you can stay for several minutes. So this is where I'm going to leave you. Stay as long as you'd like. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.